We begin the news in Nigeria, where Nigeria's Acting Inspector General of Police, Kade Egbetokun, has held an inter-agency consultative security meeting at the Louis Edet House, Force headquarters in Abuja. The meeting was organized in preparation for the off-season elections scheduled for November 11th in 2023 in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo State. The Inspector General, who was represented at the meeting by the Deputy IGP Operations, DIG Ede Ayuba, stressed the importance of sharing ideas among security agencies towards the maintenance of law and order during election periods. Among issues discussed at the security consultative meeting ahead of the election include intelligence sharing, logistical planning, in-depth analysis of potential threats and vulnerabilities, conflict prevention, technology and innovations, as well as manpower deployment. Now, joining me on the news is political affairs analyst Biodun. He joins me for more perspective on this and more. Now, Mr. Biodun, thank you very much for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we witnessed the elections that took place early this year, the general elections, and INEC got a lot of flack in terms of not fulfilling what it said it was going to do. Some actually said, INEC promised more than it could deliver in terms of the IREV and what have you. So do you think in the few months that have passed since the general elections, what areas do you think, are you confident that INEC has learnt its lessons from the general elections, and what are your expectations from this cycle elections that are coming up in November?
Yes, if we look at the last elections and the coming elections, there are also lessons to learn on all sides. It's not only about the conduct of the elections, which so far the court has not been able to impeach significantly, to undermine any positive assessment of that election, because a lot of the problems he had was over unreasonable expectation created by INEC itself, when the impression was created that IREV will be used to collate the result against the provisions of the Electoral Act. And that led to many people concluding that results will be collated with IREV rather than manual collation and IREV being used for transmission. So that miscommunication accounted for the huge trust deficit on the part of some political gladiators in this matter. Now, for INEC, they have a lesson to learn. It's strictly, they should just strictly to Electoral Act rather than trying to play to the gallery to win public trust. Public trust will only be won if we stick to the law as passed by the National Assembly and then transparently implement those laws in a way that will build confidence and reduce the number of litigations and challenges we are having against results declared by INEC. Also, we all know that politicians, for who they are, will always compete, in this manner, because a lot is at stake. They've spent so much money, invested so much money. You must be a multimillionaire to contest, for National Assembly in Nigeria or to be the governor of any state. So therefore, the stakes are high. And as long as we practice a presidential system which says, the winner takes all, we will continue to have disputes and problems and challenges. What we need to do on the part of the National Assembly before the next election, even in those states, is to amend the Electoral Act. If in reality Nigerians want, the collation to be electronically transmitted rather than manual, that is very, very important. Short of doing that, then we have to use existing law, and INEC needs to carry out public sensitization to ensure that people are very clear that manual collation will be used and IREV is only for viewing the results of the election collated
transparency purposes. So that brings me to this question, Mr. Sowunmi. I'm happy you mentioned technology. Now, given the evolving landscape of technology and communication, How much of a difference? Because INEC said, this is a game changer. A lot of people said the IREV and the Bimodal Voters Accreditation System, BVAS and IREV, how much confidence can they inspire in the electoral process? And how much difference does this new technological innovation bring into the electoral process in Nigeria?
Oh, look, when you look at what the situation before we have beavers, we used to have a situation where people snatch ballot boxes, take them away, and then stuff them with new ballot papers and create fictitious voters list. That are stopped. Beavers stopped it all. If you don't get accredited using beavers, there is no way you can vote. And then it makes it easier to decide the cases of overvoting, where you have more voters, more votes than the number of voters registered in a particular area. Beavers has made it possible, to ensure that that is no longer the case. And therefore, in terms of technology to tackle overvoting and wrong accreditation or no accreditation, Beavers has been able to do that. The issue of collation is just the problem. As long as we're still using a manual voting system and people are not doing postal voting, and we've not been able to start voting using technology, we will continue to have a problem of collating results using electronical, because most people are going to vote manually. That will always remain the sticking point in this case. But that does not mean it can't be done. It can still be done.
Okay.
In order to reduce the level of suspicion, by the public. Know that many people feel that there is trust deficit when it comes to INEC managing elections. It does not matter whether it is real or imagined, but the fact is we have to address them.
A very poignant point you made, Mr. Biodun Sowunmi. Now let's talk about security. INEC itself has raised concerns about the security situation in this states that will be having off-cycle elections on November the 11th. Now, how can the electoral umpire, INEC, ensure a secure and stable environment for the upcoming elections in these states that are facing heightened security threats? What strategies and collaborations with security agencies can be put in place to safeguard the integrity of the electoral process?
Well, a lot is at stake here. And there's no doubt we have security issues in the country, and particularly the states, Imo states and other states where elections will be conducted. INEC is not in charge of security. It's still the Nigerian police and all the other security services that need to up their game and be able, to ensure that elections are conducted in a peaceful manner. Because election does not necessarily have to be credible and fair. It has to be peaceful, devoid of violence, in a way that it will engender trust.
Mr. Sowunmi, I would like to interrupt you for a second here. These are off-cycle elections. It's not a general election where the entire 36 states of the Federation are voting at the same time. Does this free up security agencies? Is it a sort of guarantee, since they would only have to contend with 3 states on November the 11th to conduct these elections? Is it a guarantee of a safe environment, since they can deploy higher numbers of security operatives to, oversee these elections in the states?
Yes, you are correct, but we should not forget some of the states. Particularly Imo State, is militarized. We have situations where people currently are waging a sort of mini insurgency against the state. So therefore, a lot of resources is not only about the Nigerian police force, but also the Nigerian armed forces need to up their game. We cannot deny the presence of FIPOB and the threats, to disrupt elections or not to recognize the Nigerian state. So these are challenges which are beyond conducting elections, for instance, in Osun State, where you do not have the nature of challenges which the security services will face in a place like Imo. So notwithstanding that, the bottom line at the end of the day is that no matter how low or how light violence or disruptions are, it will impinge on the integrity of the election. So therefore, we need to ensure that all people are able to vote without being intimidated. The idea of people saying that people should stay at home on Monday and is being enforced, needs to be jettisoned. So the security services need to have a meaningful presence that will engender trust and confidence in people so that they can come out and vote. So that is not down to INEC. INEC is only conducting elections. That is down to the security services of the country.
Thank you very much for your analysis and your insights, Mr. Biodun. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.